calls in, and we start the day with Adam in Sacramento, California. Adam, good afternoon. How are you, buddy? What's going on? Adam.
Good, Chris. How you doing?
Fine, Adam. Thank you, buddy. What's on your mind today? Go ahead.
Well, I read something today. I thought you might find it kind of comical. It was an article about potential Kyle Lowry trade, and the writer said that he was the best player in Raptors franchise history.
You can't say that. Leonard was there for a year and they won a championship. How can you put I mean, is he talking about longevity? Well, what is he? Plus, you got McGrady and Vince Carter. Plus, you're still sitting there with DeRozan. Lowry's not he's a good player, but he's not the best player in Raptors history. That's crazy. Can't say that.
Yeah, you can't say that. And this all goes back to something that you said many years ago, or probably a few years ago, when talking about the younger sports fan or the younger writer, and it's that they're not curious enough. And I think that is so applicable in so many instances.
I agree.
In all walks of life. You see it all the time. I use that phrase almost every day because it's so applicable.
Yeah, the younger writer, the younger sports person, whether he be a host, or a TV guy, or a writer, blogger, whatever it might be, podcast person, they do not have any sense of history. None. And they don't really get a feel. You see it with all their polls that they do, who's the best team, who's got the best player, who's this, who's that. None of them have a clue. And when I started, I maybe it's because I had my old man. I don't know. Maybe it's because the guys that I hung out with, we knew who DiMaggio was. We knew who Ted Williams was. We had heard of Johnny Unitas. And I didn't really see Unitas play in his prime. I didn't see him, but we knew about them. I knew about the '69 Knicks. I knew about these. I knew about Bob Gibson. I knew about the 17 strikeouts against Detroit in the '68 Game 1 against the Tigers. I certainly knew about Koufax. These guys. I knew about Wilton Russell. These guys today, who chronicle sports, do not have the young person, do not have any feel. How can anybody sit there and now, unless there's an addendum to it, and he's basically saying because of his longevity, you got to put him higher than, say, a Carter or a McGrady or Leonard won a championship. They would not have won a championship without Leonard or DeRozan. So, it's only 1 year, but, if you're asking me who's the best Raptor of all time, it's Kawhi Leonard. And it's not even debatable, even though he was only there 1 year. Now, unless the writer put that in, unless he basically, put that in quotations. Listen, I know it's Leonard, but he was here 1 year, so I can't put him. All right, then he explains himself, but there's no way Lowry's the best Raptor of all time. That's crazy. Go ahead.
No, and I think there's definitely got to be an appreciation for the history in all aspects. But I got one more thing for you. I heard you tease it a couple times in some intros, and maybe today isn't the day to do it, but I would love to eventually get your full review on the night of. Thanks, Doggy.
You got it. I love the show. We can do something along those lines. I also, Your Honor, those two were very, very good. Terry in York, PA, Mad Dog Unleashed. Terry, good afternoon. How are you today, pal? What do you have? Terry.
Hey, Chris. What's going on?
Terry, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you today? What's happening?
I'm good. I have three things for you. Two of them about baseball. The last call is a good lead into my last question about baseball. But first of all, when McAdam was on, my mom happened to text me. She was born in '53, and she was watching a Doors documentary, which I thought was pretty coincidental. And she said she never really knew about Jim Morrison. She just knew the hit song, so she was pretty into that. And that was right when McAdam was on with you. So that was a nice coincidence.
Nobody knows more music. Eddie Coleman's close. Brian Hill, my old buddy, but nobody knows as much about music as McAdam. I can promise you that. And he can tell you any band that you want. He has a perfect feel of it. That's his second love. But go ahead. Next.
Yeah, I enjoy listening to him talk about it. Two things about baseball. First of all, what's going on right now? I think the players and the owners have made a big mistake with not doing the DH. I know that negotiating is getting in the way, but there's going to be a lot of pitchers who have oblique injuries and stuff coming up. I think the NL pitchers haven't swung a bat in over a year. I mean, if you think about it, they didn't have to worry about it with the second spring training ramp up, so they haven't swung a bat, before COVID last year. So
don't swing the bat then. I mean, I don't want to hear that complaint. Lay down a bunt. Don't swing the bat. I mean, you can't be that brittle where if you swing the bat, you're going to get an oblique injury. I mean, these are big-time athletes. I understand the injury thing does worry people because paying a fortune for these pitchers. But for it's funny about the sport. For 100 years, nobody cared about the pitchers hitting or running the bases or laying down a bunt or getting injuries because it wasn't a DH until 1973. So the idea and baseball survived just fine. Gibson played, Christy Matheson played, Koufax played, Drysdale played. Baseball survived just fine. So the idea now that we're going to have the pitchers hit and we're going to have a bushel full of injuries, I think is a little overrated, to be honest. Injuries can happen no matter what the scenario. I understand you're going to give me Chi Min Wong, who ran the bases and got hurt. I get it. But David Cohn got hit in the pinky, lost 3 months. I get it. But, for the most part, the pitchers are going to survive. Injuries happen. The pitchers are going to survive. Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with that. And I think that today these guys just specialize so much in one thing. They don't worry about the other aspects of the game because they want to be the best at what they do as far as pitching goes. So they don't really worry about hitting, and that might be why it's different than it used to be. But I wanted to ask you a question, and it's definitely out of my area of expertise, but I think it's right up your alley. I came across something the other day about the 1947 AL MVP. Joe DiMaggio won it, and Ted Williams finished second. And all I really saw was just their stat line. And what happened there? Because Ted Williams seemed to have a much better season than Joe DiMaggio that year.
Well, DiMaggio won the pennant. Let's start with that. There was a year, in 41, DiMaggio hit, Williams hit 406, but did not win the MVP. They gave it to DiMaggio because the Yankees won and he had a 56-game hitting streak. You can live with that. Right. DiMaggio, I have to look at Williams. I think he won 2 MVPs. But 1 year, he actually had the Triple Crown. And if I can have Eddie punch up some statistics, I don't have it in front of me. 1 year, Williams won a Triple Crown in 48, and Joe Gordon won the MVP, who hit 280 for the Indians. Whoever won it, there was a year there where it may have not been 48. There was a year there where Williams hit for the Triple Crown and did not win the MVP. 47. What are the numbers on 47? Let me hear them. You got him there?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. So Ted Williams played 156. DiMaggio played 141 as far as games go. But DiMaggio had more at-bats. But Williams scored more runs. He had more hits. He had 12 more home runs, 32 to 20. He had 17 more RBI. And he has batting average was 343 and DiMaggio was 315. His on base was 499. DiMaggio 391. His slug was 634 and DiMaggio's slug was 522. And DiMaggio finished first, and the 202 votes and 201 votes.
Wow, so he only lost by 1 vote. And the Red Sox that year, what was their record? They must have been. They were not terrible. What was their record?
I have to look at that. I just have the two guys up there. Hold on 1 second.
There is I'd have to look, and good call there, Terry. I'd have to look how many games out they were. It was a close vote. They gave it to DiMaggio because obviously the DiMaggio is DiMaggio, and the Yankees won. What year? Now, Williams won the Triple Crown in 42. He hit 36 homers, 137 RBIs, and led the league in hitting at 356. What years did he win the MVP at? He was second. That was the year. So it wasn't 48. It was 42. Williams won the Triple Crown and finished second. Think about it for a minute. How do you win the Triple Crown and finish second? He won true MVPs. He won the MVP in 46, and he won the MVP in 49. So he won the 2 MVPs in his career. Did he win an MVP later on? He finished second when he hit 388 in 1957, when he hit 388 to Mantle. So he won 2 MVPs. Should have been more. In 41, when he hit the 406, Williams in that year he was second with the MVP to DiMaggio. He hit 37 homers, 120 RBIs, and hit 406. He led the league in a million categories. He led the league in runs scored. He led the league in home runs. He led the league in walks. He led the league in batting average. on-base percentage, slugging, OPS plus, and he finished second to DiMaggio, which is hard to believe. And he had 25 intentional walks. Now, if you look at Gordon in 42, the Yankees won the pennant. This is the year that you can't figure out. In 1942, Ted Williams had 141 runs scored. Okay, played 150 games. He had 141 runs scored. He had 186 hits. He had 36 doubles. He had 137 RBIs. He had 145 walks, and he hit 356. And he had a 499 on base and a 648 slugging, and he led with OPS plus. He led everything. He led the cat. He had 328 total bases. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He led the American League in 10 categories. 10 categories. 10. And he won the Triple Crown. Think about it. In 42, 10 categories, won a Triple Crown. And Joe Gordon, who hit 322 with 18 homers, 103 RBIs, won the MVP. Now, you tell me how that's possible. The Yankees won the pennant, but you tell me how that's possible. Steve Torrey, how are you today, pal? Okay?
Hello, Chris. How are things?
How are you, Steve? Nice to chat. Things good? Things okay? Everything all right? You moving well? Okay.
Yes, everything good.
Cassie Russell called you up last night. I like to hear that. That's a good sign.
He did. That was a tremendous, pleasant surprise. I had played a clip. I did mostly last night the NHL ref stuff. A lot of different layers to that. A lot of people can relate. But I played a clip of Coach K on with you talking about his theory as to why the Big Ten has struggled in the tournament, about how they were, maybe in one location too long. And then so on the call screening, it says Cassie, from Michigan. And it said, and I'm like, geez, in Michigan. I'm putting two and two together. I'm like, wait a minute, is this Cassie Russell? He's like, yes, it is, as a matter of fact. So it was fun. Had a little chat. He's, you could tell he's still very much roots for the Big Ten, and he was very disappointed about their failures and was trying to figure out why, COVID-related, maybe in one place too long. We discussed the fact
that that's what Krzyzewski said. He said the teams got stale. That was a good point.
Yeah, and, I brought up that, it's a 20-game conference schedule now, so maybe that had something to do with it. So it was fun, but, it's a guy who was played on an NBA championship team, number one pick in 66, so good. It was good stuff. It was fun. Nice to hear from him. You never know who's listening, Chris. Never know who's listening.
Never know, and we've caught a mistake last night listening to the UCLA podcast, which I guess Eric made a mistake, the sheriff, with the wrong sound.
No, don't blame him, but you could blame all of us. There's a lot of eyes and ears that missed that one, but good job by you.
Well, how am I the only guy in America who can hear? I heard it, picked it up in 2 seconds, and you had 10 guys listening to that, nobody picked up on it? I don't understand that.
Can't make an excuse. The only thing I would say is, honestly, we probably listened to that thing so many different times that, when you hear it was like that newsreel type of play-by-play. It wasn't real play-by-play.
That's what it was.
So yes. I think, in our heads maybe it was like the same newsreel of another clip that was very similar that we heard, and just, I don't know. It's a bad one. But thank goodness you picked it up. You saved us.
Well, I didn't save us because it's been airing for 3 days, and people would be very confused, but at least we got it corrected in the nick of time, which is very, very important.
Of course.
Very, very important. Let's see. Anything with the deadline and the Orlando? Orlando never cashes in on their number one picks. That's the beat. Aaron Gordon, terrible. Yep. Howard never really did anything. They've had a lot of lottery picks, and they have never really come up with a Hall of Famer. That's one of the reasons why they can't get themselves going here.
Yeah.
You know that?
Now they're in rebuilding mode, and where's the fan interest going to be there? Oladipo now to Miami, so.
Pat Riley tries to win. Give him credit for that.
Yeah,
he tries to win.
Absolutely. And they didn't have to give up, anybody really of note. I mean, no Robinson, he stays. Hero doesn't have to go, so that's big for them.
That's give Riley credit. Boy, the Players Association in baseball would love Pat Riley because he tries to win every year. Give Riley credit. He doesn't have they're not beating the Nets, but I mean if they're healthy. Give Riley credit. Nice job of the Nets last night. None of them play. I mean, I can't kill Harden. I got to give him a little break. Yeah. He's had such a good year. Yeah. But none of the Nets play. I mean, how do you think Adam Silver thought? Was that game on national TV? I don't even know if it was. But how does Adam Silver
I think it was, actually. I think.
Geez.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got these three great players. He's got a contract with ESPN and TNT in the regular season, and he can't deliver his players to these games. And none of them play, and the Nets lose 112-88.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, I mean, again, this has been going on for way too long, and that's an anticipated matchup. You'd like to see this team from the East that's turned things around and it basically never loses, be at full strength. It'd be nice.
Only
But,
trip into Utah, and they
right.
can't. I don't want to get on Nash about Harden. I got to give him a break on that because Harden played the night before. He got a little banged up last game of their homestand.
Yep.
So I'll give him a little break on that. But boy, oh boy, Durant never plays, and Irving plays when he wants to play. Is
That's
what it
right.
comes down to.
Well, it's his birthday, so he's entitled. Take a little break.
Yeah, I mean they're in such a tricky spot. They can't say anything to him at all. And, they're basically beholden to what Irving wants to do. And it makes the organization look horrendous.
Right, because when he comes back.
They can't even punish him. They can't suspend him. They can't fine him. They can do absolutely nothing. It's a joke. It's a joke.
And when he comes back, he's not going to underperform because he's too good. So he's going to go back and, first game back, he'll throw in 40. All is well, till the next time.
And if you go out there and you suspend him and you make a big deal about this, or if you fine him and it gets a lot of attention, he's such a weird guy. You're going to put him in a tricky spot. He's going to get into a funk, and you're going to be in a mess. So
Right.
Marks and the owner decide, we look bad. Yes, he make us look bad. We look like we can't do anything to him. We look like we're powerless, which is all true. But if we have to take that, because if we go out there and punish him, and then he goes into a funk and doesn't care, we got a mess on our hands. So let him do what he wants to do. That's what it comes down to.
And it could be far messier if they were not succeeding, and they are. They're playing very well. So that sort of masquerades and covers up everything, at least for now.
That's a good point. If they were not 30-14, they can sit there and maybe they would do something. If they were 25-25 or something like that.
Yeah.
100%, Steve. 100%. All right. No NCAA today and no NCAA tomorrow, where you usually have a Sweet 16 games 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that going to bother you?
No, I mean, because it's this little. We had the wraparound from the first two rounds that spilled into into Monday. So, I'll look forward to 4 straight days. You got 4 games on Saturday, spread out nicely. 4 games on Sunday, and then we got a little juice that carries over into Monday, Tuesday. Which, by the way, the scheduled tip times. Did you see 7 and?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, 7 o'clock and 9:40 or whatever. So it's going to be a little.
Boy,
late.
Monday night 9:40 is an Elite Eight game. Oh boy, that's awfully late.
Yeah, and then from my perspective, you have Monday, Tuesday, you have regional final games, Elite Eight matchups, and then you have one day off, and then baseball's here. So that's a good thing.
I like that. 9:40 means 10. You got a problem with an Elite.
Yeah.
You got a problem with an Elite Eight game starting at 10 o'clock at night?
I mean, it's like, we're used to it by now. I mean, if it was the old format, that would be the same sort of thing. I actually know it would be Saturday or Sunday, so you'd be much earlier. So that's something to keep in mind.
Well, Sunday, Steve, it would be 2:40 and 6 because they would go into the 60 minutes. Right.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have a late game.
Right. So, that's a little unfortunate. I was hoping they were going to do 6 and like 8:40, make it a little more manageable, but you're going to have some West Coast teams there, so that caters to them too. So at least they make out a little bit better this time.
It's tough, Steve. To start a game at 10 o'clock at night.
I know.
And you're basically looking at that one bracket where Gonzaga, and they might play early anyway. Who knows?
They could.
Are those games on TNT or CBS? How is that? Are they both getting one game? How does that work?
So the two afternoon games on Saturday and Sunday are CBS, and then.
Well, I know that. How about
TBS
on Monday and Tuesday?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if they split one. Maybe one gets one, the other gets another. That wouldn't make sense.
Because
right?
I'm sure CBS is going to want the first game, not the second game. They don't want to They don't want to ruin their 12 o'clock news, their 11 o'clock news.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to kill their affiliates. They do not want to have. They want to get the game in and out. First game's at what time? 6. What time? 7:05.
Like 7:10 probably. Something like that.
They'd rather go 7:10 to 10, do an hour of a show, and then have that go into their local news. So they will do the early game, and CBS will probably get first pick of what game they want. They got the Florida State-Michigan game. They had the first pick there, and they got the number 1 seed Gonzaga, which I'm sure they wanted too. So they will get the first pick. So the Gonzaga-Oregon USC, I'm assuming Gonzaga beats Creighton. That Gonzaga game against the Oregon USC winner will probably be your early game. So you can't sit there and tell me that's because of West Coast. because that would be 4 o'clock.
Well, do you think over like Michigan against Alabama or Michigan against UCLA? If Florida State wins, I could say that, Florida State, Alabama.
Are those games the same day?
I think they are, right? I think so.
If they're the same day, you're right. They might do they do Michigan first. That's a good point. Florida State, they would. That's why they haven't given you what network's going to televise the game yet.
That's right.
CBS has first crack at it, and if it's Florida State, Alabama, CBS is going to take Gonzaga. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, I would agree.
If it's Michigan, they'll take Michigan.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. So, but it's not because of them making sure the West Coast audience can watch their game at 7 o'clock prime time. It's got nothing to do with it. It's about CBS wanting the right game for the 7 o'clock window.
Right, but I'm saying like you could have as many as 4 West Coast teams playing for a spot in the Final Four. If UCLA wins,
Yeah, but if you have Florida State, Alabama, Steve, they're on at 10 o'clock at night, and the Gonzaga game's on at 7.
I got you. Yep.
So they're going to kill both audiences. They're going to make the West Coast audience see their game at 4, and they're going to make the Florida State audience stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning on a Monday to watch their game.
They might.
They might. Steve,
can't
Torrey,
win.
thank you. Can't
right,
win.
buddy.
We'll see you at 6, Mr. Torrey. We'll come back with your calls right after this.